Okay, hello guys, welcome to this channel. I wanted to show you how to where did you start the learning program with Python, with the theory explanation and the implementation. Then after we'll learn the program, how to program with the Python. We have to apply some Python concept on the artificial intelligence, machine learning and deep learning method or course. Let me proceed to the next one. So we are talking about the Pythons. So why it's Pythons? So when we start from the history of the Pythons was created by the first created by the Russian in 1980s, and it is one of the popular programming language, taking the advantage over the C++, Java, and C#. So the Python is a more or it is a contrast to other popular languages such as this C++, Java, and C++, in the way that it make great effort to provide a simple solution or simple platform, but a powerful syntax to programming environment. Because the Python is a popular on current state of the art in scientific research community, the Python is the language the most of the author who try to dissemination of his knowledge when he did some research activity to convince the scientific community by using the Python. He will do the prototype by using the Python. So it is a popular in the data science or in industrial environment. So Python is taking the advantage of the pre-existing programming language, and for those who are already familiar with other programming language, it will make a great thing with the Pythons. For example, it will accessible for the programmer who want to start from the beginner, and they allow them to tackle or make determined effort to deal with the interesting problems more quickly than many other more complex languages that have step learning curve. For example, if you take Java or C++, you are dealing with their syntax is also difficult to install the environment. Also, they're like that. For the Python, this is not the matters. When it is come to the Python's name, right? You know the Python name is from one of the most fastest and poisonous snake in the world, and Pythons it can kill 20 people simultaneously. So it is the fastest in the name is come from this. It doesn't mean that name come from because of the name is come from the fastest snake and the poisonous snake. That's why the Python is fastest and quickly programming language other than complex. But it is the way the Pythons provide, or the platform existed, or the platform that support the Python is make it Python more greater rather than the actually it is names. For example, Python is currently used by most of the software developer company, like the current leading the business market, Google, Yahoo, or search engine, any other industrial company, or any other company that is serving for security, NASA, any other company are dealing with the Python. So if you are looking for the opportunity to learn the Python, this tutorial is for you. So please give attention for this tutorial up to the end. So here it is for 5 secret to be start with the Python, or make or move to be knowledgeable on the Pythons, because if you are looking for where you and how to start how to start the Pythons. Here you have to follow these 5 steps. The first one is object-oriented programming language. That means object-oriented programming language you are learned in previous course, or you will take that object-oriented programming if you are not taking this course in your career. So that object-oriented programming means that in a previous concept, in a programming language, you will implement something. So is that, or does it will work for my current real-world problems? Actually, it does. For the Pythons, or the concept of object-oriented programming language, also, it is a great effort to make you a better understanding, or better to solve your problems. The other one is the Python documentation. So Python documentation, why it is needed to review the Python documentation. After any change to the Python version, Python release the documentation manually for what is changed and what is currently exists and what is supported in this new version. You will see in the Python documentation, and it is used to support the beginner of the program. For all modules, you will find any module that how to start with and how to write the program and how to call their existing module, like that. The other one is the critical thinking. What critical? You have to be critical. The critical is the most creativity ever exist in this world. So the critical is up to you. What you will need to do is that what will happen if you made some change in a program that previously you are familiar with. For example, if you wanted to implement some algorithm by using C++, what if what's its behalf, or if you change the programming language in the Python, is there any change in the running time or space, or complexity is changing or not? You will see that is the way you will implement the algorithms. The other one is fourth, a platform. How platforming can be the area you will start to learning the Python. How I know whether my program or a parameter that I was given for my program was right or not. You will see in the IDE before compiling the program, before the running the program, the IDE will provide you and support you how to you will implement. For example, what's the next parameter, how many parameters for this function will take, you will see in the platform. For a Python, there is a popular or many integrated development that is there. The most popular, and if you are dealing with data science, you will take Anaconda, Spiders, PyCharm, Visual Studio, Jupyter Notebook, any other. Of course, Anaconda will support any other Python editor. The fifth one is error handling. What type of error you are facing, or what type of error was there before you start the program? Have you seen ever? Have you come across this error before, or how you will handle if you come to this type of error? Because your problem was solved by someone, you have to apply those concepts into your programs. There is no need to waste your times. The problem you are facing right now may be solved by someone, so you have to use the design pattern concept. For example, I will show you how to handle the error in Python. For example, the most popular error is there concerning about the module. When you wanted to use this module, there is a predefined error and how to solve those errors by using error handling and exception. In this tutorial, for example, object-oriented programming and critical thinking is up to you. But for Python documentation and the platform error handling, I will promise you this we will do a great thing by pre-existing knowledge and by supporting the environmental development. For example, in object-oriented programming, you need to know this all four pillars of object-oriented programming: module or function, class. Python also supports these two terms in the form of abstraction is nothing but the way to hide the detailed implementation from the user's inheritance. We have concurrent class, subclass, superclass. You are familiar with object-oriented programming. Polymorphism. For polymorphism, what is that? It means you will change the parameter and give different. For example, if you are dealing with abstraction, for example, if you wanted to do some calculator, for example, for multiplication, for division, you will use the same method. So only you need to change the parameter, okay? And the encapsulation is also more similar in the abstraction, but somehow different. You have to take overlook about this object-oriented programming concept. It is a pre-existing concept. Python documentation manual. How you will use the Python documentations? Why it is important? For example, now current Python I have 3.9. Before that 3.8 is there, 3.7. Then like that we have 2. Less than 2 since the Python is started. So the Python 2.1 version cannot support the current existing if some program written by 3.9, the Python 1.1 cannot support this program, right? Like that. It is prepared already. The person who needed to read, for anyone who is up to date after new release every time, the Python community provides some version of the Pythons like this one. In the Python 3.9 we have somehow this changed for 3.1, 2, 3 also there. For Python 0.8 this some of change will be done. You have to be familiar with this before we start with the Python 0.9. But some feature will be changed, not all existing all of the Python syntax or program cannot be changed. Only some functionality feature or the version of the package will be changed. So I have to be familiar with that before starting the Python. Okay. When we come to the implementation, before entering into the implementation, we have to know from a previous existing knowledge, value and the variable. Value means the data, variable means the store or the container that will hold those value whenever we want to use. For example, if we are not wanted to use this value, we will use dynamic value at any time, but variable is used to store the value. We have numerical value, string, video, image, anything. So we have to store in this value in a variable. Like variable is a container. The other one is assignment operator. Assignment means how we will give assign the value to the variable. It's like any other programming language. Identifier also there. How we will name the variable names. In a reserved word is the keyword that you cannot use for variable, but it is a special purpose, a built-in function used to support your program by calling those reserved word. In the second, we will see how to control the structure of the program by using the if statement, for statement, and it's also range, and break, continue statement, and is close. And on loops, we have many nested loop as whenever we need this implementation. Then come to argument presser. After we identify this control statement, we have to use argument pressers. Argument pressers is used to when taking input from the user dynamically during the run times. Okay, because when we want to run the program, we will give the input with this argument presser. It is the most important feature in the Pythons. So please give special attention for this one. For data science or any other course, you will do like this because of reusability, saving the time to review the code. It is important. Define function, how you will use function. Is it the same with the previous course like in C++? A little different on defining function, right? Then iteration, while loop, and infinite maybe. Infinite is also has some advantage in the Python or any other programming language, because for example when you wanted to use embedded system, for example surveillance security camera for your room, for your room environment, you will use security camera. So that security camera cannot have interrupt handler logically. That means once you start the security camera, it will run as long as it will connect to the power, or as long as you are not wanted to stop it, or you are not pressing the physical interrupter. For example, you will press some button, it will stop. You will press some button, it will start like this only. And the infinite loop is more used in this one, in the arithmetic expression, that is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and the modulo operator is also used in this Python. More is the data structures. How data will be look like, in what manner our data will be arranged, the sequence will go to have the data, and how we will control those data, the condition of this data. We'll see how the data structure will be implemented in there. So this for this one, for example, input and output, reading a file, writing a file, and then use it for starting the it is basic for before we start the artificial intelligence or machine learning course, because you are dealing the way you will import your data, export your data. You have to know how to input, how to read and write the files. After we finish this course, we will going to implement this project. For example, project 1, binary searching in hash function. Then about the class, and class also there, how will you use the class, calling the class function like that. In the database, we have two type of database, statical and dynamic database. For example, we will call it, we will read from Panda by using the Panda algorithms. For if it is MySQL, we will use MySQL connector to connect the because our data will be put on some other server. We'll put our data in different location, and then by using connector we will retrieve those data from there. But when it comes to Panda, we will put somewhere in our locally, and then we will input, because a flat is a file or some data will be recorded or stored in our local machine. Then the most important one for the Pythons, like other any programming language, graphical user interface. By this module, tick enters, we will do some application, and the other one is error and exception handling. So in this tutorial we will do also application of the Python. Can achieve after understand the Python is a great concept, like for example artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is currently used for robotics, industrial and military power, everything in the current real world problem. Artificial intelligence is the fundamental. The other one is machine learning, classification, regression, for those three: machine learning, supervised, unsupervised, and then reinforcement. So reinforcement may be similar with machine learning and robotics. That means in robotics update some of feature, because reinforcement is learning from the mistake. When it's come to this one, we have input and output. We have to classify the input and output. We have a label, but in this case we only do a cluster. But for supervised, you will do regression, classification, and then others. So the algorithm we want to take overlook is called machine learning algorithm. Support the vector machine, decision tree, and the neural network, and the key-nearest neighborhood. We'll see this implementation part. Deep learning course for computer vision and the natural language processing, CNN, RNN, and LSTM, and the current state of the art. In this tutorial, we will see how to implement and what is the basic fundamental step of this one. And then next video with implementation. Please like and subscribe this video. If you have comment and suggestion, please put in the comment. I will be do my best to help you. And then if you are ready, come to the implementation part.